Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudire Gajananam bhutagadaatidevitam kavittajambo baladharabhakshidam umasudam shokavinaශකාरणं नमामि विघ्नेश्वरपादपङ्कजम् आपदामपत्तारं दातारं सर्वसम्पदां लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम् आष्टानामात्यन्तारं बीटानां भयनाशनं दिशतां कालदण्डं तं रामचन्द्रं नमाम्यहम् रामाय रामभद्राय रामचन्द्राय वेदसे रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीतायाः पतये नमः पूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविता शाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलं वाल्मीके मुनिसिंहस्य कवितावनचारिणः सुमन् रामकथानादं को न याति परां गतिम् गोष्पदीकृतवारीशं मशकीकृतराक्षसं रामायण महामाला रत्नं वन्दे लीलात्मजम् अञ्जनानन्दनं वीरं जानकी शोकनाशनं कपीशमक्षरन्तारं वन्दे लङ्काभयङ्करम्. All right. We are moving on to the next parva of Mahabharata, fascinating parva called the Virata Parva. So, what have we done so far? I think we have done Adi Parva, Sabha Parva, Vana Parva, and now we are going to the Virata Parva. So, the story is being told by Vyasa to Ganesha, by Vaishampayana to Janamejaya, by Suta to the rishis of Naimisharanya. So, Janamejaya, the king, asks Vaishampayana, Katham Virat Nagare पूर्व पितामह अज्ञातवास समुषिता दुर्योधन भयार्दिता पतिव्रता महाभागा सततं ब्रह्मवादिनी द्रौपदी च कथं ब्रह्मन् अज्ञाता दुःखिता वसत् कथं विराट नगरे मम पूर्व पितामह ओ महर्षि how did it happen? How did they live there? How did they go to Virata Nagara? What happened there to my forefathers? During the Agyatavasa period that they had agreed upon, how did they live there? How did they protect themselves from the fear of Duryodhana discovering them? And how did Pativrata Mahabhaga, the most fortunate Pativrata Draupadi Brahmavadini, he calls her Brahmavadini. Her Vak itself is Vedam, so to say, Brahmavadini. Dixit explains it as she is constantly chanting the name of Krishna, 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 Krishna. That is what is Brahmavadini, so the masters. So Draupadi Brahma, how did she face the difficulties of living incognito? There's a question that Janamejaya asks Vaishampayana. Now the Virata Parva is all about the stay in Virata Desha. The Pandavas, in the 13th year. So what you all know the deal. 12 years they had what they had agreed to with Duryodhana. 12 years they'll stay in forest. Then 13th year they'll stay anywhere in the world, but incognito. They should not be discovered. And Duryodhana has said he will try to discover them. If he discovers them, then they have to repeat the 12 years again. One more 12 years, one more 13th year. If he discovers them during the period of that Agyatavasa, that 1 year they should hide somewhere. They should not be visible anywhere. So this 13th year, how did they spend? That is the question. Now the Virata Parva has got like all the other Parvas of Bharata, this has its greatness. The listening to of this parva, or the reading of this parva, or the chanting of this parva, the narrating of this parva, all of that supposed to give immense benefit, especially the ability to the ability to face and overcome any kind of challenge. This Virata Parva gives that strength. And then it has got one more interesting aspect. I'll relate that to the story. Two stories. One was told to me by a doctor here. He is a well-known sports doctor, orthopedist, sports doctor, who was in fact the doctor for CSK team, etc. during the time. So he, not on that. So he was telling me once that when he had, during one time he had gone to Kanchipuram many years ago, Mahabharata time. And there was tremendous heat in Tamil Nadu at that time. So no rains, etc. And for whatever reason, when he was going towards from wherever he had gone, when he was going to the Madam to see Perivar, suddenly before they reached, the skies opened up and it started raining, pouring. So he says he somehow managed to reach the Madam, went inside, he saw Mahaparivar sitting with pain, happiness in his bearing, and he asked them, raining nicely? So he said, yes. Whether he told or somebody else told, we don't know. He said, this is the effect of Varuna Japa, the Japa of the Varuna mantra. A similar story, but in a different setting, sage. This was the year 1925 or so, about 100 years ago, right? Yeah. Just about around this time, maybe few months earlier to this time, 100 years ago. In the Chettinad area of Tamil Nadu, Gobi, Chettipalayam, Devakottai, that side. Devakottai side. The Sringeri Acharya of that time, the great Jivan Mukta, Chandrasekhar Bharati Swami, he was on Vijay Yatra across the land, and they had come to Devakottai and were camping there. There was absolute drought in that area, in that region. It hadn't rained for years. And there was immense water scarcity. So this is the Guru Kripa Vilasa book, if anybody is interested. So then the manager of the Madam, the administrator, came and told Acharya, can we shift to Madurai instead now? Because here there is a problem, serious problems of water shortage. And we are having to bring water from far off distances on elephants. So in those days, the Acharya goes with along with him, elephant, camel, etc. All that, we go horses. They have a whole entourage. On elephant, we are bringing water here because every day so many people come and have prasadam here. They eat here also. We have to provide for all of that, including water. Water is a problem here. So maybe we can, if you are with your permission, can we shift from here to Madurai instead? There is water provision. So the Acharya told him, apparently, listen, if you had told us this to us earlier, maybe we could have thought of not coming here. But now that we have come here, it would not be good to just go, because the people here will be disappointed. We have come here. So he asked him to ask the priest. They have the priests also traveling with them, like Yudhishthira has got Dhaumya and all. So the chief priest, he said, ask him to come here, bring a Mahabharata with him and also some puja articles and all that. Proper ritual puja articles. So they want the Mahabharata. So he asked him to start reading, chanting the Virata Parva. Start. And as he was chanting, going on chanting the Virata Parva, the Acharya was walking up and down, up and down. He was doing some japa. He says around noon time, the book says around 12 noon, all this was going on. Then he says 1 p.m., around 1 p.m., out of nowhere, clouds gathered in the sky, dense clouds, covering the sun. And then it just started pouring. Says it poured and poured and poured, like it was never going to stop. Around 4:30 or so, the manager came running and said, too much rain. So Acharya apparently said, adequate? He said, more than adequate. The people all were there. Then he told the chief priest that we may now stop around 5 o'clock. He said, you light the camphor, Karpuram, and ritually bring an end to the Parayanam, stop it. So they stopped it. So this Virata Parva, so then they asked him next day, how is it Acharya should tell us what happened? So he told them it's like this, the Virata Parva. In Virata Parva, Vyasa has kept the bija mantra of Varuna mantra, japa there, is there inside. So that's one of the traditionally well-known aspects of Virata Parva, that there Vyasa has kept a certain mantra, which brings rains. Because last time also I do recall when we went through the Virata Parva here, it take many months, but when we finished it, there was very rainfall here in modern times. But today I was just thinking, yesterday and today, etc., in Chennai itself, this is the season of rains, maybe in the north, but not here. Here, yesterday morning, it rained like crazy. And today, and I was thinking, but we're not started with Virata Parva. I was thinking now, this is now the time, this is the era of quantum time, right? So in quantum time, the effect can precede the cause. Right? It's a very, there's this concept called retro-causality. You can Google it, retro-causality. In quantum time, it's a hot topic per se. I mean, put it simply, for example, it's the way they talk about it, for example, is there's a particle going into a tunnel, going, emerging the other side. It emerges on the other side before it goes in here. How is it possible? Negative time or whatever. So they do all kinds of experimentation, and this is a topic, proper topic. What on earth is this? It's impossible for us to understand based on current ways of our physical relationship with the phenomena of the physical world. But quantum time, what is time? Unknown. Anyway, that's just an aside. Coming back here, the Virata Parva has got this mantra. Like the Ramayana has got the Gayatri mantra. The 24,000 verses of Ramayana has got the one letter each of the 24 letters of Gayatri mantra, every 1,000th verse. The Virata Parva has this great effect, is what they say. But Mahaprabhu, in some other context, in some talk, he cautions about this. He talks about it, talks about this. He said, even says, okay, like for example, Virata Parva has got this. But it is possible that you may chant it and then you don't get rain. Then what? He says, you must understand it. That there is a doctor, there is a medicine for a certain ailment. You give it. It works. But for some people, for some reason, for some instances, it doesn't work. The person doesn't recover or dies or whatever. Now, does that mean that you will say that this medicine has to be banned? That just doesn't work. But no. When the preponderance of destiny, the power of destiny is so overwhelmingly overwhelming that this does not overcome that, that will prevail. But if it's not that much, it is a level that this can overcome them, this will prevail. Mathur Swamiji was telling me once, me means whoever were there, not me alone. In some context you're speaking. That in Ayurveda, in Kerala side, etc., a serious, I think he was telling me, yeah, there was this concept of karma. When we were doing the translation of Tattvabodhini, this context came there about karma. And how there's a certain technical word used there in Sanskrit. It says so many things come together in karma, so many causes that sometimes you can't, there is nothing you can do about it. So there's a particular word used, which is a medical, in Ayurvedic terms, it's used when there's a multiple organ failure kind of thing in the body, human body. Multiple things are going on. Heart is gone, kidney is going, brain is getting a stroke is happening, multiple things are happening. So you treat one, the other flares up. That's the way it will be. The system will be such that nothing, what will you do? You touch one part of the body, the other part of the body collapses, liver collapses, something happens. So then they say, sorry, he's going, right? I mean, it's a serious case. So, sannipata, something, there's a particular word. So, at that time, Matsyadesha explained, it's like this in Kerala, when there's a very serious case, and give up, and then they say, okay, now we should go to Ayurveda. Normally, nowadays people go like that, right? They said, no, there's no other way. Allopathy, nothing is working, go to Ayurveda. So they go to the leading Ayurveda Vidya. So the Vidya apparently says, get his horoscope. So you study the patient's horoscope, see the house karma. What is the probability? How is nature, forces of nature, how is it reflecting this guy's karma? So is the preponderance of destiny such that the medicines might work? If he feels, yeah, I think we can give it a try, then they will try. If they feel that somehow work, so be at peace. It's a difficult case. So anyway, coming back here, Virata Parva, Mahaprabhu says that's the thing. So he says that, all right, sometimes you read Virata Parva, you do a Parayanam, it doesn't rain. It means that land, that people, the karma at that time is so strong that it didn't work. Doesn't mean it won't work per se. Works. Because there is a mantra, the bija, the medicine, the seed of rains, the word seed of rains are planted in this Virata Parva. But that's just one aspect I just thought interesting, so I shared with you. But coming back to this question here, which Janmejaya had asked Vaishampayana, Katham Virat Nagare Mama Purva Pitamaha Agyatava Sabushita Duryodhana Bhayardita Pativrata Mahabhaga Satatam Brahmavadini Draupadi Chakatam Brahman Agyata Dukkhita Vasate. So Vaishampayana replies, after Dharmaraja Yudhishthira had been blessed by, after the Yaksha Prashna episode was over, when Dharmaraja Yama, his father, let's say, had blessed Yudhishthira and had given him a boon. Also, and he had given him the Arani back. He had given the Arani, you know, those two sticks which are used, those sticks are used for Agnihotra, which the Brahmin had lost, chasing which all the Pandavas had gone and then had become prey to the Yaksha. So the Arani had to be returned to the Brahmana, right? So the Yudhishthira had come back and given the Arani back to that Agnihotri Brahmana. Then he gathered all the Pandavas, Dhaumya, etc., the Vedavids, etc., and then he said, now we have come to the end of our 12 years of exile, forest exile. And the 13th year is beginning now. As per our contract, we have to now remain incognito for 1 year. God knows what all difficulties we will face. Then I turned towards Arjuna and said, oh Arjuna, tell me some place where we can stay for this year. Unrecognized. So Arjuna says, oh Naresha, Dharmaraja has granted us the boon that we will not be recognized. Surely there is no doubt that that shall be so. Wherever we may decide to be on earth, we will not be recognized. Nonetheless, I shall suggest a few places, out of which, sir, you may choose anyone as per your ruchi. So he suggested some places. He started first saying Panchala, Draupadi's place, father-in-law's place. First he suggested Panchala. Responsibility on poor Drupada, if they have to be incognito, and they land up there saying you have to keep us incognito. My God. Anyway, he said Panchala. When he gives some alternative, he says Chedi, Matsyadesha, Dasharuna, Navarashtra, Shalva, Saurashtra, Kuntirashtra, Avanti, etc. Many. Yudhishthira listens to his list and says, Matsyo Virato Balavan, Abhirakto Pandavan, Dharmashilo Vadanyascha, Vruddhascha Satatam Priya. He said the Matsya king Virata is Balavan. He is also Abhirakto Pandavan. He's got a soft corner for us. He is a Dharmashila, he is a Dharmishta. And he is large-hearted. Vruddhascha, he is an elderly man. Vruddhascha, like Bhishma, he is elderly. Satatam Priya is very dear to us, always been dear to us. So let us spend this year in Matsyadesha. As we go, we will use this word Matsyadesha, Virata Nagara, synonymously. Why Matsyadesha? Well, there's a story there. So for a moment, we'll go from here and do a flashback, so to say, and go to One sec. Where are we? Yeah. Go to Adi Parva itself, the first beginning Parva of Mahabharata. There was a story of those who may have been there listening to it at that time. I had mentioned that this point we will come to later, but and did not complete that part. So we're going back to that point now. But what was that story? We'll understand as I tell. So this is the flashback now. So there was a king of name Vasu, King Vasu, who renounced this kingdom. He was a great king. He renounced his kingdom, deciding that now I have done enough. I shall do tapasya. So he gave off his kingdom to somebody and went off the forest to do tapasya. Terrific tapasya. See, when a great Kshatriya decides to do something, they can do it. So he did tapasya. Such great tapasya that Indra got worried in Indralokam that this man is now, he'll become, he'll get my status. So he did the usual thing. He came to him. He praised him. Like, terrific. Great tapasya. And he said, listen, your being a king is important. I mean, you can't. You need to continue. You should, there's no, world needs you. It's essential for dharma that you do resume your kingly duties and take charge of the kingdom, Chedi kingdom. Take charge again. And he gave him a Vimana, an aircraft gift. Recently, Trump got an aircraft gift. No? UAE or something gave. So he got this guy, sorry. King Vasu got a Vimana gift. And Indra said, listen, I'll also be around. I'll be hovering over your kingdom. Not a problem. I'll be there for you when you want. I'm there. He also gave him a mala. His mala. Vajanti mala. Mala. That mala was given to Vali or Sugriva as well, right? Vali had it. Then he was removed. That mala is like a armor. It's a mala only of flower garland, but it's an armor. Nothing, no weapon can penetrate it. It's one of those modern armors, so to say. He gave him mala, which never fades. The flowers will never fade, and moreover, it's an armor. It will protect the wearer from all weapons of battle. He gave it to him. Then he went back, he started doing his kingly duties. And in this river, very Mahabharata type, nice. I mean, Mahabharata hinges on these kinds of stories. So in this kingdom, there was a river called Shuktimati. Shuktimati means bright intelligence. Hello, clean thinking, bright intelligence. Shuktimati. And then there was a hill called Kolahala. Kolahala means chaos. Kolahala. So this river called Shuktimati, bright intelligence, and there's this hill. Immovable object. The river was irresistible force, and he was immovable object called Kolahalam. And this Kolahala king, the hill, the conscious hill, he became enamored of this river, Shuktimati. And he captured it. He was captured by the hill. Now King Vasu, he got upset. How dare this hill capture that Shuktimati? He went and gave one kick to that hill. Kicked the hill. When he kicked the hill, the river managed to rush out. But then, what had to happen had happened. And therefore, that river, she gave birth to two children, a boy and a girl. She had already given birth. So they were grown up kind of thing that time. So they two, boy and a girl, a man and a woman, so to say, young man, young woman. The young man was so fantastic. The king decided, I want him as my general, like Murugan. I'll have him as my general, Senani. The girl was beautiful. Her name was Girika. Girika, the mountain girl. Girika. So he made her his wife. The king Vasu made her his wife, Girika. And he was very enamored of her. Then came she one day, she prayed to him, saying, no, we need to have children. But that will happen when it will happen. One day, the king had gone hunting in the forest. He was all alone, hunting in the forest. It was springtime, Vasanta Rutu. All conditions were absolutely ideal for emotions of romance. So soft breeze, flowers blooming, bees buzzing, etc. And he felt a sudden rush of romantic urge in him. He was completely overpowered by it. So he transformed that into a virya, a force of reproduction. Virya, which he kept in a leaf. He transformed that urge into a virya, kept that virya in a leaf and charged it with a mantra. He charged it with a mantra, childbearing mantra. And then he had an eagle with him. I mean, the king used to have an eagle with him, which used to help him go hunting. So he had an eagle with him. He asked the eagle to take the leaf with the virya and go give it to his wife, Girika. The eagle took that leaf, and started flying back towards the palace. But as it was flying, there was another eagle in the sky which thought that this eagle was carrying some meat. So that eagle attacked this eagle. There was air combat. It attacked. So in that combat, the leaf fell. The leaf fell in a river, and as it happened, a fish swallowed it. Now, you might be remembering some old stories from Mahabharata Parva. A fish swallowed it. This fish was no ordinary fish. This fish was actually, in its previous incarnation, it was an apsara. And by Brahma's curse, Brahma had given a shapa. She was born as a fish, a female fish. In her name as Apsara, her name was Adrika. Adrika, which is actually absolutely synonymous with Girika. Mountain girl. Mountain born. Both means mountain born. Girl. Adrika. Like they say, Sonagiri, Sonadri, same. Arunachala. Venkatagiri, Venkatadri. Adri and Giri are same. So Adrika. So by Brahma's shapam, she was born as a female fish. And Brahma had told her that she will be freed from this curse when she gave birth to two humans. Now she had swallowed this leaf. And then she became pregnant. That had been charged with the mantra. And as destiny would have it, she was caught by a fisherman. One fisherman caught her one. Killed her. Cut her up. Opened her up. When they opened the fish, two children came out, a boy and a girl. The fish, of course, the moment it was killed, it went back as the Apsara. Its work was done, two children born, gone back as Apsara, back to Devalokam. Now, this fish, actually, the fish was such that he didn't cut it himself. He had gone and presented it to the king, saying, King, very special fish has been caught. The king had got it cut up, and then they found these two children, boy and a girl. The king kept the boy. The girl, however, he didn't keep, and there was a reason for it. He didn't keep that girl because she was stinking of fish. She has that stink. So he couldn't bear that stench. So he said, no. This I'm not able to handle this. This girl he gave off to the fisherman himself. He was the chief fisherman who had caught it. He said, you bring her up. You for yours. This is yours. I'll take the boy. So as you might recall, that girl who was that fisherman was Matsyagandha. Who was Matsyagandha? All of you will remember that Bhishma's father, King Shantanu, lost his wife early. Bhishma lost his wife means Ganga. Ganga's son was Bhishma. But Ganga left him fine. It was short-lived, so to say. It's a complex story. We'll not go to that, but he was all by himself, and then he fell in love with this fisherwoman, Matsyagandha. The Matsyagandha is a fascinating story, actually. Matsyagandha was, as we said, she's stinking there. Stench. But before the Shantanu, etc., met her, before that, when she was the chief, the fisherman's daughter, and princess of that land, boat, this, that, everything was hers. Once, one Rishi Parashara, and he was to cross the river, so she was taking him along. And our destiny would have it, the nature built those circumstances that Rishi Parashara had to. They got together, unite with this Matsyagandha. Was the Rishi. And in that timeless time, gave birth to Vyasa. Vyasa was born. Who knows when he was born, he got up and walked away. Telling his mother that when you want me, think of me, I'll come. I'll be available for you. Wow. Then Parashara also had to go. So he gave her a boon. He converted, he changed. The stench became, instead of being a stink, she became the most fragrant person on the earth. Terrific fragrance used to come from her now. And so people used to started calling her Yojanagandha. Her fragrance will be for a mile, it will be wafting. So that was whom Shantanu fell in love with. And then Bhishma, that entire story of Bhishma Pratigya and all that. Because when Shantanu wanted to marry her, then the fisherman said, you already have a son, Bhishma. Only if you promise that he will not get the throne, and the throne after you will be given to the children born of you and my daughter, will I allow my daughter to be married to you? Now, the king didn't want to, you know the story. Then Bhishma takes the Pratigya saying, I will give up the throne for the Vishnu Pratigya. I give up the throne forever, and this throne will be only for the child of these two. And they said, no, that you may say and all that. Now, you may not want, but when you get married, you have children, they will say, we want, then what do we do? Then he had taken the terrific pratigya saying, I'll remain a brahmachari till the end of my life. Bhishma pratigya. And hearing which his father had given him this blessing, saying, all because he's not going to get married, he'll have no children, no son, nobody to do his sraddham, etc. He said, for you, my son, the world will do sraddham. So therefore, around that time of Bhishmashtami, till now, we are all supposed to be, on that day, we offer oblations to Bhishma. So that's a different part. So the Matsyagandha, that was the girl who came out of that fish. And later, she had 2 children, right? She had Vichitra, son. 1 son, 2 sons. Anyway, that lineage was, that fellow died. He got married. Bhishma only got those. He brought Ambalika and Ambika. Amba story went in different directions. The other 2 were married to this Vichitra, and he died. There were no children. Lineage had to go on. Bhishma could not agree to further the lineage by himself. So Matsyagandha, his mother now, had thought of Vyasa. Vyasa came and she had requested him to do the needful so that the lineage. So out of that was born Pandu and Dhritarashtra and Vidura. That story. So Mahabharata has got clean linkage to Matsyagandha, the girl who was brought out of the fish. Vyasa himself is her son. Vyasa, who is the chronicler of Mahabharata. That was the girl. Who was the boy? The boy grew up as this Matsyaraja of Viratadesha. Now, this is not known there. I mean, the Pandavas didn't know all this. But they knew he was a king elderly. Vruddhascha. Satatam Priya. So that was he. Fascinating. Right? Now, so Yudhishthira says, so let us spend this year in Matsyadesha. And yes, even Dharmaraja, that is Yama, too had suggested Matsyadesha. And it shall be as he said. He had also said. But this is the point. Boon was given, you will not be recognized, and so you go and stay in that place. But still, the decision is still Yudhishthira's. So he had asked for you from Arjuna, saying what all places, then he had picked this one up, the same one that Yama had said, and said, right, we'll go there. But tell me now, he said, tell me now. He asked the Pandavas and Draupadi, etc. How are we to remain unrecognized? Obviously, we'll have to split and we have to be in different disguises. They do not know us. So what role, what all kinds of role, what role will you all play there? What job will you take up? What disguise? This is a question he asks. So as he said, Arjuna had recommended many places starting from Panchala, but in the Kannada Bharatam, we have Kumarvyasa's Bharatam in Kannada, directly Arjuna says Virata. And he gives a reason. He says, let's go to Virata. He says that's because most kings of this land are in fear of Duryodhana. But Duryodhana, if he is afraid of anybody, he is afraid of this king, Virata, because of his brother-in-law Kichaka, who is powerful. So because Kichaka is there in the kingdom, Duryodhana is scared of that king. We'll go there. Kichaka will come to later. That will be fascinating. Right. So that is the background. Now coming back to Vyasa Bharata. So he says, what role will you all play there? Now Arjuna, the first one to reply, he replies with a question. He says, "Oh king," he's asking us, right? So he's saying, "Oh king, what role have you thought for yourself?" Mridurvadanyo hrimascha dharmikah satyavikramah rajan swamapada krishna kim karishyasi pandava. He lists Yudhishthira's attributes. Mruduhu, you are soft spoken. Ranyo, you are large hearted. Primanscha, you are somebody who will never do anything wrong. Your restraint stop you from taking a wrong thought. Dharmika, you are a dharmika. Satyavikrama, truth is your valor. Rajan, no king. Swam apada Krishna, you who are caught in when you are caught in this distress. Kim karishyasi, what is it that you are going to do? So all these good qualities are there in you. These are not, something that helped, right, in a difficult situation. Goodness. When you have to do subterfuge, you have to do kapatam, you have to disguise, you have to do role play, you have to get out. All this you have to do, and this fellow, he can't speak a lie. So, not very suitable for good persons. We do all this. He says, what role are you going to play? You are our king. He says, there are some boundaries, right? You are our king, and you should not be subject to even the least amount of suffering. We will not allow that. You cannot take the role of any commoner. You cannot. We will not allow any suffering. You are a king. How will you manage? Not many roles a good man can play. So how will you manage? You have to play a role for somebody. Yudhishthira said, listen, I will tell you. Yudhishthira thought through this. So I'll tell you. Sabhastaro bhavishyami tasya ragyo mahatmanah kanko naam advijo bhutva mataksha priyadevana sabhastaro bhavishyami. I'll become a member of the Sabha of the king. Member of Rajya Sabha. I'll become a member of the Sabha, the court of the king. Of that Raja, Mahatma Raja, of his court. I'll become part. I'll go join there. I'll tell him my name. I'll take the role of a Dvija, a Brahmana, called Kanka, by name Kanka. Kanko Rama Dvijo Bhutva. Matakshan. A Dvija called Kanka, who is very proficient in the game of dice. Priyadevana. I love the game. With this attribute. The kings like this. Somebody who's proficient in the game of dice. So I will introduce myself as Kanka. And then dice. With dice, green as emeralds. Or golden dice. Dice in gold. Or ivory dice of black and red. Fascinating dice with dazzling dots. I shall play. And I'll ever fascinate the king and all the ministers. This is the role I have in mind for myself. First point, name, Kanka. Kanka indicates the name Yamadharmaraja. And there is the Vedic traditional saying, Atma vai jayate putra. So, Yudhishthira is Yamaraja's son, therefore Yamaraja himself. So to say I'm Kanka, he is not speaking untruth in that sense. That name is all right. Kanka is fine. He said, no one will recognize me. If the king inquires more about me, I will tell him, I used to be the Prana Sama Sakha of King Yudhishthira. I was as dear to him as his very life. Like the Jiva, Atma, and the body are so dear to each other. I was dear to Yudhishthira. That's what I'll tell him. Now they all know, no? Yudhishthira, Pandavas are all somewhere in forest exile, so his people also would have been driven away. So Kanka, some fellow was looking for a job. Now, Yudhishthira, some of you may say, this fellow still dies. That's what got him into all this mess in the first place. But his love for dice has not gone. Of course it's not gone. Why should it go? Moreover, it is not the same Yudhishthira who played dice that day who's now there now, because now there's a total difference. The difference you may recall, you may not recall. But what happened during the forest exile was there was a sage called Brihadashva who had come. One of those times when Yudhishthira was crying, saying, can there be somebody more unfortunate than me? What a mess my life is, depression total, etc. Brihadashva told him, no, there's somebody who was far more worse. And he told he had told the story of Nala. Nalopakyanam. Fascinating story. It's there on our YouTube channel. You must have heard it. So I'm not telling the story. But the story is very similar lines. He also loses everything. He marries Damayanti, the most beautiful girl in the world, in a Swayamvara. That Swayamvara where all the gods had come to try to win her hand, including Indra and others, Vayu, Agni, all of them had come. And then, in fact, the Yugas, Dwapara and Kali were also coming to take part in Swayamvara. And Indra had stopped them, saying, he had fooled them, saying, Swayamvara is already over, why are you going there? So they had gone back. That story, then Nala manages to win her hand. Then this Kali and Dwapara, they are very angry. Arey Baba, we wanted this fellow. Now, I just mentioned this because in dice, in ancient times, the two blank sides, I think, only four sides had numbers, dots. 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dot, 4 dot. And it was called, 4 dots was called Krita. 3 dots was called Treta. 2 dot was called Dwapara. 1 dot was called Kali. We started about quantum time. So if you roll the dice, and roll the 4, you say, Krita. 1 is a Kali. That's how you play the numbers. That are the names given to those numbers in dice. The 4 yugas. Why 1 is Kali? That story, right? Dharma stands on 4 legs in the cow of Dharma stands on 4 legs in Krita or Satya Yuga, 3 legs in Treta Yuga, 2 legs in Dwapara Yuga, and 1 leg in Kali Yuga. Barely managing. Moreover, somebody is beating it. So then this Krita and Dwapara are upset. So then they play this game and they get into Kali gets into Nala. And Dwapara into his opponent. They play a game of dice. And Nala loses everything. That's a tragic story. How he loses everything, how he goes, etc. He has to abandon Damayanti in the forest and go away. Then Damayanti suffers. She suffers. She has to live. She becomes a servant of a queen somewhere. It's a desperate story. Nala is bitten by Karkota, the snake, and he loses his beautiful form. He is the greatest looking man. He becomes a ugly dwarf, bent. But that Karkotaka says, the thing is, this will help you. You will not be recognized. You can go and work with a king called Ritu Parva in Ayodhya. So he goes there, and since he's a magic man with horses, he becomes a stable man, horses. And then one fine day, Damayanti is desperately looking for her Nala. She can't find him. That I'm fast forwarding to the end of the story. Then she's the king, and she sends out an invitation to all kings saying, and Damayanti's Swayamvara is going to happen again. All kings want to go. Rituparna also want to go. Nala hears, my God, Damayanti is marrying again, very upset. And Rituparna says, but I cannot reach. I got information only tomorrow morning is Swayamvara. This guy says, I will take you. He's a magic man with horses. So he takes him in the horses. Super, like they fly. And on the way, they just halt somewhere for a second. Then they say, this magic man, how do you know? He says, I know Ashwa Vidya. I know that there's this ancient mantra vidya called Ashwa Vidya. I know that with which I can make horses fly. So the guy says, you teach me. But in turn, I'll also give you something. He says, test me. He says, there's a tree. So he says, I can tell you how many leaves are there in this tree. And he says, to the number, he says, that is the number of leaves. He says, how do you know? He says, I know a certain Vidya myself. You teach me Ashwa Vidya, I'll teach you that Vidya. Now, what is that Vidya? He says, Aksha Vidya, the Vidya of dice. Rituparna knows. And to know the Vidya of dice, apparently one of the things that comes with it, packaged with it, is the great art of arithmetic and maths. So he is a genius in math. He can do things in his mind. So he's a master of Aksha Vidya. Like they go in Las Vegas or wherever they do all this gambling, etc., these blackjack and poker or whatever they do and other things. Some of these math geniuses, they know how to fix and win. And then they keep watching. They find one guy like this, they never allow him to come inside. So this guy was one such guy. So he teaches Aksha Vidya to Nala. Nala learns that. So that story was there. So when the story was told by Brihadashva to Yudhishthira, the end of it was over, then Yudhishthira is also worried himself. He has lost in dice. Brihadashva tells Yudhishthira, don't worry, I will initiate you into Aksha Vidya, which Rituparna initiated Nala into. So he teaches Aksha Vidya to Yudhishthira so that he never lose in dice again. Yudhishthira now is a master of dice. Now there's no emotion when he plays dice. Now he can roll the number, he knows what will be the outcome, what that guy does. So now it is just beautiful. It can be green emerald dice, it can be golden dice, it can be ivory dice or red and gold with dazzling dots, and he can make them dance. The 4 yugas will dance in his hands. He can play. So he says, I will be Kanka, Advija, who is a great Pranasakha Sama Yudhishthira. Now looking, and I'll be with you in the court, I'll entertain you, I'll keep you entertained, I'll be a counselor. So that's the job I'm going to do. And what about you, Arjuna? What about you, Bhimasena? What about you, Nakula? Bhimasena, what about you? On that note, we'll conclude today. We'll take up 2 weeks from now what Bhimasena wants to do and how Virata Parva goes on. Hara Nama Parvati Pataye Hara Hara Mahadeva Janaki Kanta Smaranam Jai Jai Rama Rama Gopika Jivana Smaranam Govinda Govinda Petrivil Muruganakku Hararo Sri Sadguru Swaminah Jai Sri Anjaneya Swaminah Jai